be patterns, be examples in all countries, places, islands, nations, wherever you come, that your carriage in life may preach among all sorts of people and to them. Then you will come to walk cheerfully over the world, answering to that of God in everyone, whereby in them you may be a blessing, and make the witness of God in them to bless you. This is a statement written by George Fox in 1656, and we hold dear to this idea. Friendly Water for the World was officially started in I'm David Albert, by the way. Friendly Water for the World has a prehistory that goes back to 2006. Well, it goes back actually to when time began and people had to figure out how to get themselves some clean water. But officially in 2006, Dell had learned the skill of biosand water filters in Mexico. He's got lots of funny stories about that. And Dell came to me as a person who likes to do fundraising. I know that's a rare thing, but it's not necessarily, I'm not necessarily that good at it. I just like to do it, although we seem to be doing just fine. And Dell and I started collaborating on projects with Suzanne, and he kept on nagging me about when we were going to form an organization, and I kept on saying, we'll know when it's time. We began in late 2009, his church, organization of churches, a Northwest yearly meeting of Quakers, came forward and said, we do a Thanksgiving appeal and we give the money to a good third world cause, and this year we're giving all the money to Dell. And so he came to me and said, where should we do it? And it popped out like that at me. I said, Burundi, where I've never been. And he said, why Burundi? And I said, well, it's the second poorest country in Africa. The people have been through hell, and we have friends there. And then I asked Dell how much money they were going to raise, and he told me it'd be about $5,000. And I said, well, I'll raise another $5,000, and we'll figure out if we can make a go of it. And the appeal went out, and $32,000 came in. Then I said, well, it's probably time to form an organization, and called a meeting in my living room on January 1st, figuring 5 or 6 people would show up, and we had 22. And that was how we were formed. Again, we began as a kind of convergence of evangelical Quakers and liberal progressive Quakers working together, which was and is very rare. It seems to work out just fine for us. I tell people we're evangelical for clean water. We are officially a secular organization, but run on Quaker principles: peace, integrity, equality, stewardship, and community. We continue, our work has just been expanding extremely rapidly since 2010. We now have projects in 12 countries. The projects are all growing rapidly. We occasionally have a fit and start. And the main thing I have to tell you is that Friendly Water would and could not be where it is today, except for the extraordinary efforts of our partners in the countries in which we work. They are really the backbone of the operation. Our partners, some of the most amazing people I could ever imagine, have exhibited intelligence, drive, and initiative, energy, caring, massive generosity. I mean, we think we're being generous. It hardly holds a candle to what our partners all over Africa, India, are able to do with very little in the way of physical resources. Friendly Water for the World started by our commitment is to ensuring people have the opportunity to clean their own drinking water, to ensure their own drinking water supply. Actually, the word biosand filter isn't even in our mission statement. Biosand filters is a tool. It's our major tool. We are also branching out into some rainwater catchment work, some girls' hygiene station work, occasionally some latrines. We're working on projects in friendly water soap making, some simple pump repair, spring head protection. But the thing you should know, we do not do wells. We are water quality people for the most part, although again, sometimes gathering water can be part of that, hence the rainwater collection. But we are not well people. We can refer you to well people if you've got interest in wells, but that's not us. I bring greetings this morning from the Amahoro group in Rwanda, in Gisenyi. In the last 6 months, we have birthed 13 new groups in the western part of Rwanda. And the Amahoro group today is beginning training as well for 4 new groups of unemployed youth in the region. It's a partnership with the local government that's providing the space, and the printing, and food, and we're providing everything else. And the fascinating thing about the 4 groups being formed, they already have orders, paid orders for 141 filters, even before they've been trained. So that's when they asked me, please, to send greetings from one training to another, which I thought was kind of neat. Our orientation: there are lots of groups that do biosand filters, and people make them out of other things. There are plastic ones, we don't like those. There are stainless steel ones, we're waiting to see those tested. People have been experimenting with all kinds of ways. We use very conservative technology. We are using the traditional biosand filter that comes from the Center for Affordable Water and Sanitation Technology. The curriculum we will be following today is strictly theirs. Our experiments have been in social technology. That is, how can we find ways to make groups self-sufficient? Small businesses, cooperatives. Many of us have worked in the third world for a very long time. Myself, going on 39 years now. We've seen every failure of every charity, Rotary Club, mission team, government, bank, World Bank, International Monetary Fund. I could keep you here for 5 days. Dell and I could probably keep you here for 5 days telling you stories about all of them, and we can name names. We figured out a long time ago that there's not enough charity money in the world that's going to bring clean water to everybody, and that the best way to do it is have people do it for themselves. And that's what our partners are very much involved in. So that is our basic orientation. That's what makes us different from all the other biosand groups out there. Many of them come and they drop filters on unsuspecting communities, and then they leave. And people end up with very, very large doorstops. And we've seen it. And we've seen plastic filters littering the countryside in certain places. We've seen lots of failed experiments. We're not going that route. So our experimentation is specifically in social technologies. The actual technology for the filters, we use the most conservative, best tested technology that we can find. Couple of things. In feeding that, there's some reading material that we recommend to all trainees. There are many books, but we recommend 3 in particular to get you started. 3 books. One is called Toxic Charity. The second one, I've sent you emails on all of this. The second one is called Dead Aid. And the third one is called White Man's Burden. And there are other books. He's written another great book called The Tyranny of Experts, which is great as well. But these are the 3 books we recommend to all trainees. There's a 4th book that's sitting by Tricia over there. It's called The Most Good You Can Do. We are positioning ourselves kind of in the center of the effective altruism movement. We know that young people are not particularly interested in the old charities, Save the Children and UNICEF and whatever, because they really want to get hands-on into the charities themselves. They want to be working, and they want to make sure that the spare dollars that they have really make a difference in the field. And there's a whole movement in the United States growing up, especially among millennials, which is called the effective altruism movement. And we see ourselves positioned right in the center of that, because we do things with tiny amounts of money that do radically more work than charities that are taking in millions. Last year, our total budget was $117,000, and we figure we did. When I look at it, I think we did about $3.5 million worth of work by traditional charity standards. A couple of other things I want to tell you about before I turn the program over. For travel, if folks ever need ways to travel, there's a wonderful organization in Minnesota called Fly for Good. We use them as our travel agents. A couple of things. You can usually, if you call, you can do the online stuff, but the big benefit with Fly for Good is you can actually talk to real people. Fly for Good began as a missionary flight organization, but they now do all volunteer organizations. And they will not only try to get you the best price to where you want to go, number one. Lots of folks can claim that. Number two, if you need to make changes in your flight itineraries, delays, changes, whatever, they will do it. They will go to bat for you. You don't have to go battle Delta. These folks will do it for you. And we've had that happen on multiple occasions, and they're great. Thirdly, they will help arrange for extra baggage. So if you need to bring extra materials with you, they can often arrange free bags with many of the major airlines. So we love the folks at Fly for Good. This is an unpaid ad. I will often look a price up online first, and then I'll call them and say, can you get anywhere close to it? And then we will almost always work with Fly for Good. Dell and Suzanne have had very good experiences with them. And especially if you're caught in the middle of nowhere and you need to make a change, the timing's not working, these folks will go to bat for you. Secondly, they're affiliated with an organization called International Volunteer Card. And these folks provide insurance. It's among the most inexpensive insurance. They deal only with volunteers. When you apply for the insurance, they contact me to see whether you're a bona fide volunteer. It's especially more inexpensive for older people because, again, they have a larger pool to put the risk on. They are very flexible. They will help with lost bags, in transit, sicknesses. If you die, they'll deal with your remains. They're terrific people. But even if they weren't, you should know that if you go on a trip sponsored with Friendly Water for the World, you are required to have International Volunteer Card insurance because the board didn't want me spending my time checking other people's insurance to make sure they had it. So even if you have other insurance, it's not expensive. I think it's $59 a year now. Right. So we strongly recommend, and even if you're not working directly with us, we strongly recommend International Volunteer Card insurance. We have some extraordinary people here that I want to make sure to introduce and acknowledge. First of all, you'll be spending a lot of time with Dell and Suzanne Livingston. They have spent much of the last 9 years in Kenya. They've also been to India, Uganda, Burundi, Zimbabwe. That was a little off trip. Honduras, and they're fantastic people with lots of experience that they'll be able to share with you. I want to make sure you know our new administrative and program director, Dricia Ross. Dricia comes to us by way of Morocco. We're making use of both her French and Arabic skills, which are terrific. Dricia comes to us with a master's degree in environmental science from Evergreen State University, where she did her thesis on the removal of arsenic through biosand filters. And she has much expertise working with environmental organizations in Morocco and in the United States. And in some ways, she's my clone. She's freeing me up to do other kinds of work by taking on more and more of the administration as time goes on. So if you've got, I will be leaving a little after lunch today for 3 days of fundraising. And so I'm going to leave this training in the welcome hands of Tricia until I get back on Tuesday. Dennis Mills, chair of our education committee. He put together all your materials. He loves playing on the computer and producing more materials and videos. He's also vice president of our local access TV station, which helps train our folks to do videography. We are a member, so for people in Olympia, we are a member of the TCTV. So Olympia folks, if you'd like some training in videography, video editing, able to check out the expensive equipment that they've got to film things, check in with Dennis. We are already a member. So you can take the classes at TCTV and then you make use of their equipment. Wayne Medrud, technical advisor. Wayne comes to us from Lesser Yelm. You see, Wayne hadn't traveled very much, and he comes from rural Minnesota, and coming to Olympia was a big thing for Wayne. At any rate, he and his partner Robin and son Noah, who's around here, Noah over here, never thought they'd be traveling anywhere, and I had an opportunity to do a series of large trainings in India. And my first choice was, I said, we're always bringing the Americans. I put together the training team. So we're always taking the Americans. So the first choice, I said, let's get somebody who's got village experience in the third world. So I brought our Uganda representative with us to train in India. He was Richard Kiambade. He was wonderful. And then I asked Wayne and Noah to leave Lesser Yelm. Lesser Yelm is the little city of Yelm. Greater Yelm is the whole rest of the world. Whether it be Olympia or New Delhi. And so I convinced them, they didn't need a lot of convincing, to come with me to India. They've since been to Uganda and Burundi, and in Burundi they were joined by Robin Lee here, and so they have quite a bit of experience there. And then I have a board member, Jan Dirks. We recruited him for something called the Wooden Road Festival. We had a little display up, and his wife pushed him over to us and said, you need to go here. And we've had it ever since. Jan comes to us with 7 years of nursing experience in tropical parts of Congo. And so he is well versed in specifically the health issues that we're dealing with here. That's basically it. A few of you still owe me a little bit of money. Some of you still owe me health and liability forms. So I'll hit you up, and if you don't cough up, I'll fast on your doorstep. I think that's really, and finally, our cook team. Andrea Dan, her husband John, and 3 children who have been in this training before. They were in our first training at this spot in 2010, I believe. Yeah, and they've come back to do more. I met Andrea in a very interesting way. I'm a homeschooling author and speaker, among other things. And I used to have a column in Home Education magazine, and I wrote an article about having tea parties. And it's just saying, invite interesting, exciting people that you hear about in your community to your home every month to have a tea party. And don't clean your house before you do it. And there's more to the article, but at any rate, Andrea saw the article. She wrote me and said, well, let's have tea. And it took 2 years for me to get up to Victoria, British Columbia, when I had a speaking engagement, and we did indeed have tea. She doesn't know anything about coffee making, by the way, but she does know lots about tea. Right. And Andrea is our Canadian representative as well as being the cook at this gathering. So welcome. I'm going to hand it over. I'll be around all morning and probably through lunch, and then you won't see me for 3 days. So with that, I turn it over to Suzanne Livingston.